G'day, I'm Ollie Lalive and welcome to GRDC in Conversation. For the last few years, we've travelled Australia's grain growing regions, spending time around kitchen tables, in sheds and workshops, and having my eyes open to the incredible people who live and breathe the Australian grain sector. We'd like to acknowledge the traditional lands and people on which this podcast has been recorded and produced, paying our respects to First Nations Australians and using the ancient practice of storytelling to pass on knowledge, share perspectives and learnings as to what has shaped the sector and is shaping our future. This series is a GRDC investment and takes you behind the scenes with a whole range of people, uncovering their stories, hearing about their passions, and highlighting the projects that are part of their everyday. Our journey and this series continues as we put a spotlight on the next gen, and I can't wait for you to meet them. Matt Howell is an agronomist, grower and regional advocate based in South Australia's upper southeast. Over the last couple of decades, Matt's worked alongside growers through one of the most significant shifts in the region's farming history, moving from mixed farming systems into large-scale continuous cropping driven by rainfall, soil intervention and opportunity. His work sits at the intersection of practical agronomy, on-farm decision-making and regional leadership. From running local innovation trials to advocating for underrepresented regions at a national level, Matt has consistently chosen to be involved rather than sit on the sidelines. In this conversation, we explore what practice change really looks like on farm, why capital risk has become part of the norm, and what it takes to turn frustration into influence. Matt Howell, I'm excited, mate, to sit down, and I think who knows where the next 45 minutes will go, but given your CV, agronomist, farmer, regional advocate, I'm interested in fleshing out a little bit about, I guess, you throwing your hat in the ring, putting your hand up, but also, just being part of the change you want to see in the industry. So welcome to GRDC in Conversation.
Thanks, Ollie. Good to be here. Happy to have a discussion and see where it takes us.
We've just off air rattled off a couple of names of some of the other people who we're chatting to, but when you think of them, not necessarily by name, but by, let's say, characteristic, what comes to mind with some of the other people that we've got as part of this series?
Holy crap. What am I doing in this seat next to them? Like, some of the people you've got coming up are genuine overachievers. Like, they are making the best out of tough seasons, out of tough circumstances, and pushing things forward for the industry on a wider level.
What is it, do you reckon, about agriculture? And let's just, so we've got other people in this series, whether it's James Hillcoat, Jess Koff, Jock McNeil, yourself and others. What is it about agriculture, though, and especially the grain sector, of people going above and beyond, I'll say, their daily responsibilities or daily duties?
We're so deep into people's lives and businesses that you want to see the people you work with succeed. And if you can be a small part of that, the reward is immense. Like, you spend days dealing with the hard stuff, but if you can solve one problem for a farmer, the reward is unreal. Like, for us, we spend so much time looking at soil amelioration because it's the big gain for us. But the flow-on effects to our district, more young people, more money within the district, sporting clubs are going ahead because we've got successful farms, we've got more employment. Like, it's the base of our whole rural community. And if we can be a part in making that succeed, why wouldn't we? And it's fun.
Is there a single driver, or like you laid off a few there in terms of the better businesses flowing on to better and thriving communities, which means that more young people are going to want to come out. But is there one driver or thing that really drives and motivates you?
This is where I want my kids to have the opportunities that I had as a kid. I grew up in a small country town, long way from anywhere, called Cummins, and community was everything there, and it still is today. There wasn't a great future for me in Cummins because it's a long way from anywhere. I'm related to everyone. There was no farm for me to go on to. So I moved to the upper southeast because there was opportunity there for me, and I landed there and stayed there. And I made that my home. So I want to be able to influence that region to become better, to be sustainable, to have a future, so that my kids can have the opportunity, the sporting clubs, the community, the acceptance that I got as a kid.
Mate, can you take me back? Because if I look at where Cummins is on the map, the Eyre Peninsula, which I'd say the other side of the bay here in South Australia, as the crow flies, it's probably not that far from Adelaide. But in terms of isolation and where you guys actually sit, if I picture it, I think of it nearly being an extension of Western Australia. It's that kind of far away. But talk to me more about what it was like to grow up there and that community and what it was like to be a kid in Cummins.
Yeah. So Cummins was, well, where we're sitting today, we're 650 k's away from Cummins. You can jump on a plane and be there in 45 minutes because it's only 100 k's as a hop, but you've got to go up and around to get there. Cummins back in the 90s and early 2000s was a long way from anywhere. We went to Adelaide twice a year as kids, and that was a big trip. That was planned months in advance. But Cummins, thanks to its isolation, was a big community of local farmers. Everything's farm-based over there. We got the big town of Port Lincoln just down the road, but we basically, you either did it yourself or it didn't happen. So local footy club was just farmers. Local basketball was run by mums and dads. Tennis clubs, cricket clubs. We had every opportunity there because the community made it like that. And all of that was driven by farmers and farm-associated industries. So my dad, when the family succession went through, didn't stay on the farm. He went and became an agronomist. So I'm one of the few second-generation agronomists. So I've born into this industry, so this is all I know. But the community side of it, you don't realise how strong it is until you leave and come to a different region.
Was an agronomist something you always wanted to be? Was it the pathway that you just saw yourself falling into?
Oh, it was always going to be ag-related, whatever I did. I tried to be a diesel mechanic. I tried to get an apprenticeship. Didn't happen when I was still at school. Tried to be a shearer, realised I am terribly unfit and can't do it. And the only two subjects I was good at school were science and ag. So I wandered off to uni, to Roseworthy, and fell in love with the work of agronomy and the connections I made at Roseworthy, just the people. You didn't meet a bad person in ag.
It's pretty special. Talk to me about Meningie and how you've landed there and calling their home.
So my last year at Roseworthy, I was working with George Pedler from Landmark at the time, just 2 days a week as a gate opener and bug sweeper, doing whatever I was told to do, realising I had no real world experience. And he told me to apply for a graduate program that they had. So I did. I had a crack at that. And I got a graduate position based at Meningie. All right, where's Meningie? I looked on a map. Oh, it's only an hour and a half south of Adelaide. I'll duck down for a look and meet the people. Did. And then I moved down there 3 months later and started working in beef, sheep, dairy and cropping. I'd never seen a dairy cow when I moved to Meningie. Now it'd be 15% of my work would be working with dairies. And
the region's gone through a bit of a transformation in the time you've been there. So talk to me about how that's eventuated. And was there a project or was there a person who started to I guess instigate the shift?
Yeah, so I moved down there in 2008 at the end of the millennium drought. So when I moved down there, Lake Alex and Lake Albert, the end of the Murray, they were almost bone dry, highly saline. The region didn't have access to water because they were so reliant on the lake. They were literally still installing the mains pipelines when I moved down there. So livestock wasn't an option. So land was cheap. You could buy land for $500 to $600 an acre back then. And it was attractive to a couple of mid to upper north farmers. They came down and absolutely gutted farms. They just bought these small dairy blocks, 200 and 300 hectares at once, and gutted them and started cropping canola and barley and wheat on what used to run dairy cows. And they proved that it could be immensely profitable if you could get it right. So in those from 2008 to 2012, we saw land conversion and properties changing hands at a hell of a rate of knots, and now they're all just paddocks. Those former dairy farms.
When you say they managed to get it right, like what does it actually take in practice to convert a farm from say dairy use or mixed livestock into just permanent cropping? What does it actually take?
So basically the dairy cows were already gone because the millennium drought ended the livestock production in these areas. So they were held by farmers in caretaker mode. Those guys basically sold the farm. So they come in, bought or leased all this land. And next thing you know, there's a crew of backpackers coming in with two telehandlers and just pulling every fence out. So it was rough. It was box thorns. It was iron droppers hanging out of the ground. It was pretty ordinary, but they were dragging these 50-foot and 60-foot flexi coil seeders over it, making a mess, pulling up rocks and sort of seeding crops. They were going in the ground, but these guys saw the 450 mil of rainfall. They saw the fertility that it could be in some of these soils, and they saw the coastal environment with no frost, which if you're coming from somewhere like Clare or Jamestown, that's a big attraction. And they came in, and the first couple of years they showed the locals how to grow 2 tonne of canola pretty quickly. And from there, everyone grabbed it and ran.
And so are the farmers in the area now, are a lot of them people who have come from other cropping regions back in, or have a lot of the locals kind of converted into grains?
No, the locals have converted. They learnt quickly. So we've got a couple of mid-north families that came down and stayed. We've had a couple that have come down and gone again. But the locals, they watch and they learn and they listen. So it's a pretty accepting area because the upper southeast by South Australian terms is actually a very young area. So that Tailem Bend to Tintinara region where I work, a lot of that was only cleared and settled in the 50s to 70s, whereas the mid-north's been going since the 1850s to 1870s. So like a lot of it, the region is quite young, so they're happy to listen, they're happy to learn, they're happy to evolve. And because it actually is a fairly tough area to farm, if you don't take account the rainfall side of things, they have to be adaptable.
When it comes to that systems change for the local farmers, do you think, is it profit driven? Like what are the drivers that sit behind them making, like literally changing the skill set of, they know how to, I'll say grow a cow, they know how to get a cow to market, or sheep or whatever it might be, but that change into grains and really backing something that changes the generations of knowledge that they've potentially had on that farm. What is it? Yeah, what goes into that?
The big drivers, they were forced to initially, which a lot of that made them dabble their toe in the water. So if you don't have water, it doesn't matter how much grass you grow. You can't run cattle particularly on that country. So a lot of them were forced to dip their toe in the water while they were building water infrastructure or still getting the main systems through. And then it became profit driven, which canola, barley, they're earning 3 times per hectare what a cow and calf unit is. And then the third major driver is probably the sad story of South Australia is we just don't have the people anymore. Cattle, dairy, sheep, they're intense businesses. Cropping, we just buy a bigger tractor and a bigger air seeder. So it is scalable. So what farms that used to be 300 to 500 hectares are now 3,000 to 5,000 hectares. They're bigger, less people, much more scalable because of the cropping side of things.
And that speed of change for the conversions, is that just happening faster and faster now?
It happened very rapidly from 2010 to 2018. We've run out of farms. What's left is very light sandy country. I got no doubt it will get converted in time. But the stuff that was easy to convert, 95% of that will be done. And the ones that are left, they probably don't have enough debt to drive them to do it.
So what's the opportunity? Like if you think of the area in the next 10, 15 or so years, if you doubled the time that you've been in the area, what do you see it looking like in that, let's say it's 2040?
I think it's going to be probably turning into one of the bluer ribbon areas, because one thing we've got that a lot of the current blue ribbon areas, the mid-north, the Eyre Peninsula, the lower EP, have what we have that they don't, is we're actually lucky we've got that soil type that's forgiving. We see it year on year now, the mid-north, upper Yorks, that sort of thing, that they're suffering more from spring drought, from frost, those sort of things. Whereas in our lighter, sandier soil types, we've got elevation, we've got coastal influence. We don't see those effects on the massive scales that they do. So I think that will continue to play into the value of our land going forward, because definitely reliability-wise, we're considered a forgiving area. We don't get the massive yields that some of these places can get in their year, but we do get it most years. Even in 2024, where it was the worst season in recorded history for us, we still got a crop. We still cut hay. We still delivered grain. We had 130 mil for the entire year. We're a 420 mil rainfall region, and we still grew not a profitable crop, but we didn't go too far backwards.
What do you think in your work? Like, I just think it's genuinely remarkable just what people are able to produce off these low decile rainfall years. What do you think is the thing that still probably pleasantly surprises you when it is in those tough years? If you look at it now, back at 2024, you just go, that's impressive.
Yeah, I'm stuck in that cycle of improvement. So I see it when we have these low rainfall years. I just think to myself, what did we waste in those wet years? So we were able to grow 1.5 to 2 tonne of canola on 130 mil. We're growing that on 300 mils. What are we doing wrong? Where's the room for improvement there?
How do you unlock that? Like, do you reckon it's a level of complacency in the sense of when that pressure comes off of rain, that you can kind of, maybe your attention and focus looks elsewhere instead of focusing on maximising every millimetre?
Correct, yeah. My big one is that you don't learn until shit hits the fan. So we've learnt more in 24 and 25 than we did for the 10 years before that. And you said before you're going to talk to a couple of mallee growers. They're absolute kings of learning from tough seasons. So we've learnt more about water use efficiency, tactical nitrogen, even just the effect of water repellent sands. We learnt more from 2024 than all the research we'd done in 10 years before that.
So as we come into, say, 2025, what are we, 2026? Need to catch up here. I'm a year behind. I can tell you what the year's going to do in 2025. But no, 2026, what are you guys, how are you approaching the season ahead? And maybe because we've got listeners right across all the grain regions of Australia, what would you love them to know about how you guys are shaping up this year?
We're focusing on profitability and sustainability before chasing markets. So for us, we've been experimenting with lentils for 3 years, with faba beans for 10 years. But we sit on the edge of the biggest domestic market in South Australia. Well, let's focus on stuff we know will make us money. Feed barley, hay. Look at those rotation options within a profitability matrix, because at the end of the day, the last 2 years, we've seen as much red as we have black in the ledger. So let's focus on profitability, not chase the rainbow of lentils anymore. Faba beans have broken our hearts more often than we'd like to admit, and canola is still king for us. So focus on profitability, then sustainability, because if your farmer's not profitable, he's not sustainable.
Absolutely. You've had the chance through your work and also your network to see what's happening in other regions. What are some of those things that you're trying to bring back closer to home? If you could see more farmers adopting things in your district, what would be some of those ideas, whether it's in farm practice or if it sits in other areas of the farm business?
I get shiny light syndrome. I see something everywhere that I can get to work. Currently, at the moment, I'm working on vertebrate phosphorus with some guys from the mid-north who are doing some fascinating stuff with using pH layers and NDVI layers to basically determine a phosphorus response index. And that is an instant application for me because I can see the scalability of it against data we already have, rather than having to go down the pathway of grid testing and individual soil testing and that sort of thing, because that's a massive data collection cost. Whereas we can use existing data that we've got to create layers that'll instantly pay for their fertiliser usage. Well, and it's scalable. So I can put that out across 25,000 hectares for the sake of a few days sitting in front of a computer, and on the 20 to 30% of responsive soil types, we'll gain a tonne to the hectare just by using targeted applications of phosphorus off of information we already have, because these two guys in the mid-north made some observations that they saw on their soil types.
In a couple of the conversations, people have talked about that variable rate technologies maybe only say 15% only 15% of farmers are using the technology. When do you reckon we'll be sitting here and going, all of a sudden, we're not talking about the adoption curve of variable rate and it's just become the norm?
When we start getting specialised data managers is when we will see the massive takeoff with variable rate. Like at the moment, the barrier to it's not whether we can do it or whether our equipment can do it. It's whether we can create the layers and plug it into a tractor without the farmer getting involved. So the reason 10 to 15% of adoption is there is because those farmers can see it and they're willing to do it. But there's so many advisors that don't touch it. Even I'm playing with it, but I'm still only doing it for 10 to 15% of my growers. In time, I think it'll be 50% to 100%. It'll be somewhere in that range, but it will take time to get there because the grower has to buy into it. He has to have those teething problems that will happen at the start of every seeding and harvest. And it has to be easy. And we're only just getting to that stage where people can do it. You can build a support network to do it. That's my biggest hurdle has been when I hit a problem, how do I solve it?
When you say specialised data managers, is that like a specific role that you've seen being created as a support function of ag businesses?
Yeah, in the future, I think there will be precision ag specialists based in either in branches, independent ones. Like there are a few around. You mentioned Jess Koff earlier. She's excellent. And then in WA, there's half a dozen really good guys. They're saturated with the amount of work they do already, like because they're out there meeting the demand. And it takes a lot to learn all of this technology and to figure it out as you go. You have to be a special, stubborn individual to be able to do it.
We talk about, I guess, trying to help and trying to shape the grain industry to be thriving into the future. And part of that's going to be the changing capabilities of jobs. What do you see as being the key skills that a precision ag data manager is going to need?
Patience. Patience will be number one, because the technology a lot of the times will only work in one pattern and it'll throw up weird answers at times. I think it'll be a generational change though. So my business, I work in Platinum Ag. At the moment, I've got basically 3 generations of agronomists in it. Michael Kamak, the bloke who taught me everything I know and the current senior agronomist within Platinum, he's been doing it since the late 90s. He's not interested in variable rate. He's interested in sorting out problems, making it profitable for farmers going forward. I'm somewhere in the middle. I love that profitability side of things, but I can see the future is in site-specific management in variable rate. But then I've got these 2 graduates that have started with us in the last 12 months, Brooke and Charlie, and they're not going to know any different. It's going to be part of what they do going forward. So as that generational change happens, what's accepted, I think, will be, or what's expected, that'll be part of it. So these younger ones, they'll start doing variable rate and being part of the computer generation, which I guess we're on the edge of it. They will do it by nature, whereas this sort of stuff takes time for me to do.
You mentioned Brooke and Charlie there, and I guess you've had the chance to sit shotgun and see their development over the last 12 months. I'd love to know. We talk, and I guess this is the beauty of ag, we've got generations of wisdom that is captured in how we farm, where we farm, etc. But then we've got this energy and enthusiasm that comes with this next generation that's coming through. What do you wish more people knew about how they work, the passions they've got, and what shapes them to be, really impactful and the future of our industry?
I wonder if they're ever told how tough it can be at times. In 2024, I was as much counsellor as I was agronomist for 12 months of the year. These guys, they're technically brilliant when they come out of university. Like, they know their science backwards. They're far better than I did. They obviously paid attention. They didn't chase the P's mean degrees thing like I did. But when you get into it, it's about people, what we do. It's about supporting people. It's about making the right decision and giving the right advice to that person, which is not always the best thing agronomically. There's so many compromises and grey that you'll deal with, and how you reconcile that with yourself versus what's the right thing. It's a tough adjustment. That's why agronomy has such a high attrition rate. The pressure on us is immense, particularly early in your career. You're expected to know the answers without having the time to learn it. And the training that goes into graduate agronomists and young agros is not what it was when I came through. People don't take as much time. There's not as much time sitting shotgun. But maybe it's because the senior agros are too busy too now. So
everyone's stretched. There's a saying that kind of sprung into my head when you said that, in terms of just that, the one-on-one and tailored support that you give people. And it kind of lays into people management, but maybe it's just as relevant for agronomy. And it was actually the best outcomes are the most inconsistent, in the sense of it's not taking a blanketed approach to giving broad scale advice to everyone. It's actually being inconsistent in actually every individual business, every individual person has different motivators, different outcomes that they want. And then so you need to tailor your solutions to be aligned to whatever that one person wants.
Exactly. And you've got to take the time to understand what they want, what they're good at, what their weaknesses are. It's not a cookie cutter approach. It can't be. Over the years, Brooke and Charlie would be number 3 and number 4 of graduates we've trained over the years. So it's finding their strengths and weaknesses and trying to work with them and develop them. The whole time finding that balance between being their mentor, their colleague, their friend, and being able to build resilience into them. Because this is a tough job some days, and if you don't have that resilience in them, they're not going to last.
And so what have they taught you over those years?
Patience, lots of patience. Slow down. That I don't have to work till 9, 10 o'clock at night. I can pull up, farmers will wait.
And so when you say patience, like, what do you mean by that?
I expect everyone to be able to move at my speed, and that's not the case. 15, 16 years of doing this nowadays, you don't, if you don't take the time and teach them early, then you're going to have to teach them again and again and again and again. So have the patience, take the time early in the piece, and it'll pay for itself tenfold.
I want to chat to you, and one part of when we talked on the phone kind of pre-interview was your willingness to throw your hand up and be part of, I guess, contributing to the industry beyond just your day-to-day job and supporting farmers. But talk to me about throwing your hat in the ring for the GRDC committee. Was this the first time that you really, I guess, threw yourself out there, or was there other opportunities that you said, actually, if I don't put my hand up, then who's going to do it?
Yeah, I did a couple of leadership courses early in my career, and one of the big ones was people actually want to hear your opinion. But if you're not prepared to get up there and offer it, well, then can you really whinge about what people are doing? So I'm a big believer that you don't whinge about something unless you're prepared to do something about it. So my first foray into the GRDC and the industry world was with the old RCSN network, Regional Cropping Solutions Network. And I applied to be part of the Medium Rainfall Zone Committee based on, I felt my region was a bit of a black hole, the upper southeast. There was no real industry research going on. We sit between the two major grower groups of Mallee Sustainable and McKillop Farm Management. So I felt like we were just the forgotten area. Well, rather than whinge about it, let's try and do something about it. So I threw my application in, and I was lucky enough to be selected. And I went along to the first meeting there and just sat there listening and looking around the room, and I'm sitting there between a couple of insanely large growers from Eyre Peninsula or from the lower southeast, and a couple of advisors I really looked up to. And I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing in this room? And I sat there quietly, all meek and mild. And that night at dinner, former chair of the GRDC, John Bennett, came up to me and said, like, Matt, I've met you, I interviewed you in this thing. You're an opinionated person, but you didn't say a thing today. Why not? Well, I don't feel like I should, John. And John's turned around and said, Matt, we elected you to do a job. Your opinion matters. Speak up tomorrow. I'm not quite sure John knew what he was opening up at that point, but since then, I thought, well, there's no point in leaving it under my hat. I may as well have my say, have an opinion, and get it out there. And since then, I've been part of the GRDC, and if I see something I'm not happy with, I'll ring up. I'll try to be part of anything we can influence, particularly for our region. Currently sitting on the GPSA Young Growers Council, trying to influence better policy decisions for our growers.
And does it give you, like, I'll say great perspectives, but also great stimulation in the sense of just having those different areas, different types of thinking that you have to do, from being in the soil with the science to then thinking of, well, how does this policy impact where the industry is going?
Yeah, very much so. Being able to try to communicate what's going on in a paddock at a farmer level to someone who's going to go and stand in Parliament and talk to the current primary production minister, and basically take our problems, put a scientific outlook on it, then put a profitability outlook on it, and then take it so that a politician will understand the science of what we're doing, and talk that whole process through as a group so that everyone understands it and so everyone's on the same message. That's a rewarding challenge at times. Hopefully they sometimes listen too.
What have you learned in that? Because obviously it's a lot of throwing mud at the wall and just consistently showing up.
Yeah. You've got to be smart on how you word things. You've got to try not to offend people, but also don't be afraid to challenge them. You're trying to change thinking from people who aren't born and raised in this, who don't spend their time kicking dirt in the paddock. You're trying to get them to understand a perspective that, yes, we need road trains coming into Adelaide, or drought funding is bloody important to us right at the moment, because the flow-on effect from one farm going belly up is 3 jobs out of a community. Well, 3 jobs doesn't sound like much to a city person, but in a population of 500 people, that's a lot. So we need support to maintain this sort of stuff going forward. The flow-on effects are quite interesting at times to make them understand them.
Have you had what feels like maybe a big breakthrough, or just something you look at and go, like, we genuinely made meaningful change there?
Yes. Look, with my earlier GRDC role, I think that was one of my first big drivers to continue doing this sort of stuff, was that the 2 of us from our region who got elected at the same time to go in to the RCSN, we made it very clear that there was nothing for a big group of farmers who are delivering between 3/4 and 1 million tonnes of grain into Adelaide every year. There's just nothing in that region in terms of development for those guys. So then we got small sites, small projects. Now it's larger sites, larger projects are all moving into our region, and it's getting recognised, and that's helped drive productivity out of our region. So it's becoming a more important region. And that's something that came out of our participation in that RCSN.
Your region as well, and I would say probably something that would be, you talk about being opinionated, but also being able to translate, I guess, the perspectives and experiences of other people. You've got a pretty important little farm advisory group that you run ideas and things past in the pub, don't you?
Yeah, so as a result of my opinionatedness, we were involved in the GM moratorium stuff at a local level back in 2020, presenting to groups and to local council, local community groups and that sort of thing on what we saw as the facts of GM then, and basically trying to get and garner support for the GM moratorium to be lifted, which only happened in late 2020, early 21. We started a small trial site there at Meningie on a piece of community land in amongst 4 or 5 growers that I work with on an agronomy level. We threw some stuff in because we were curious and we wanted to take this GM, put a bit of local knowledge and local science around it. So we did all sorts of stuff. It was all demo work. There was no replication of any of it. And holy crap, did the local community grab it. That first year we had nearly 200 people through that site because it was the only thing like it within hundreds of kilometres. And since then, that's just built and built and built. And so it's now called the Meningie Crop Innovation Site, centred at Meningie, which is between Tailem Bend and Meningie and Canalpin in the little triangle there that is way off the middle of nowhere. It's just a tennis club and a paddock in the middle of nowhere. So since then, we've had every sort of trial you can imagine has been put in there. We've had GRDC trials, Saget trials, commercial trials, and then my Platinum Ag and my agronomy side of things, we run 3 or 4 trials. But the main driver of it is everything must go past a pub test of half a dozen farmers. Because if a farmer can't see the value of it, he's never going to turn up to it. So you've got to be able to basically have it so it's either got a commercial benefit, sustainability benefit, or something that is pie in the sky but will have a benefit for it to get into our site. And we've averaged hundreds of people through it every year, grower groups, agronomy groups. We've had the grains leadership course come through. Hosted people from ag bureaus to international people from all over the place. And they just come along because it's a little bit different. It's all farmer focused.
That's amazing.
It's cool. It's fun. A lot of work.
Yeah, I bet. I want to probably, flick to wrap on a couple of maybe thought-provoking questions, the things that I've been pondering as well. We've coined this like next series, which is really around like next gen. And given that we started off a few years ago and we covered the south and we went the north and we went the west and growing region, now we've looked at, okay, well, let's look at the next gen. When you hear the term like next generation or next gen in ag, what comes to mind and what characteristics do you think define next gen?
It's hard to know. Like, it's such a continuous cycle. Like, you look at some of the best farmers in the game at the moment are in their 20s, and some of the best agronomists in the game are in their 60s, and but the next generation could be 40, they could be 20, they could be just coming through. So I don't think age has got a lot to do with it. I think it's openness. I think it's ability, obviously, will always play a role, but keenness to be involved, willingness to share. It's a hard one. Like, there is so many people doing so many cool things that it's what's applicable to you on the day, I suppose, is what the next generation of things you're going to chase is.
Yeah, I love it. It's more of like a mindset than any kind of box that people fit into.
Yeah, like, so it's I'm going to the GRDC advisor update later on today, and I'll sit between 20-year-olds, 60-year-olds, 30-year-olds, and I think, oh, I'm sitting here, I'm still technically a graduate. Like, I'm sitting next to some of these guys. They're incredible at what they do. The older generation of guys that have been doing it for so long. Oh, and then there's these kids that are doing so much cool stuff. Like, you've got like Sam Sanders, who works for Ag Extra. He's able to balance a million different trials at once and keep it in his head, and the information he can pull out of random trials is insane. Like, it's just, and he's nearly 30, but and hopefully we can keep him in the industry for another 25 years. Like that sort of stuff, just meeting those sort of people and that are coming through, like, wow, we're in good hands going forward.
Next level. What do you think are going to be the skills that you want to focus on and develop as you kind of move forward?
Ability to teach. I'm not taking time, patience, listening. It's not an easy skill to learn, particularly when you're a busy person. Like if you want to impart knowledge, it's one thing to stand at the front of the room and tell people the facts and figures, but to take a couple of people aside, like particularly with mentoring younger agros, if I can teach them, give them some passion for the job, maybe we won't have an agronomist shortage in 5 years' time. Like, try and teach them well enough and give them the passion for the job. And that's a very, very niche skill to learn, I think.
I think once you're able to teach something, it's mastery, isn't it?
Oh, I don't think anyone can ever master agronomy.
Yeah.
It moves too quick and there's too much grey.
Always students then.
Yeah.
I love it.
But being able to impart knowledge to younger generations and keep them in it would be a cool skill to learn.
What's getting you most excited, motivated, optimistic, whatever it might be, about the future of your region?
We've had 2 absolutely terrible years running, but farmers are still optimistic. So the fun hasn't gone out of it, even though there's financial pressure on them. Being around people that want to be there every day makes it hard not to be optimistic. Like, yeah, you've got to be the voice of reason some days and hold them back and say, guys, come on, don't be silly about this. Let's focus on some things first. But every day you want to go to work. So why not?
Pretty exciting place to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, mate, thank you so much for sitting down and having a yarn with us today for GRDC in Conversation. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you very much. I have too.
Well, that's it for another episode of GRDC in Conversation. I hope you're enjoying coming around Australia just as much as I am, meeting the people who are shaping Australia's grain sector and ensuring that we're able to keep thriving for future generations. If you know someone who you'd love to see us get on the podcast, reach out to the GRDC via their social channels or via your local rep. The next In Conversation episode is back in a fortnight's time, so mark your diaries. We can't wait to see you then.